Alright, we've already done the best outfits for every survivor and every killer, and I hadn't initially planned to go negative and do my least favorite outfits for everybody, but people really seem to enjoy those videos, and honestly, there were quite a few people saying, hey, now you should do your least favorite for everybody, and you know what, I am a man of the people, so let's do that. Up first, we have the Trapper, and oh, by the way, the same rules as before apply. We are only going to do killers in one video, survivors in the next, and there will be no partial cosmetics. So if it doesn't change the entire outfit, we are not going to concern ourselves with it. And we start off with Trapper, who has quite a few really good outfits, but he does have some that I find to be a little bit regrettable. Overall, I would say I'm not a big fan of this, what is it, Beast of Nature. I don't think it's a fantastic cosmetic, and I'm also not a great big fan of Marrow Miner, but it was free, so I guess I can't complain about it too much. My least favorite, though, is Delinquent. I don't like almost anything about this one. However, I'm not going to be unfair and, you know, withhold praise just because it's a bit more of a negative video. I do think the weapon is very cool. I think the weapon is such a cool idea. You have where it looks like he has kind of wrenched in this basically just piece of steel that's obviously very jagged and very sharp. And honestly, it's one of my favorite Trapper weapons. You'll notice I don't own the outfit, but I do own the weapon. However, we are judging total outfits, and once you get past that, there is really nothing to like about this one. I think the mask looks terrible. I think the overalls are extremely similar to what he already wears with his waders. They're just worse in every way. So overall, I don't really like this one. I think it just takes some things we've seen done before and does them worse, which is always going to be a downside. Next, we have the Wraith, and the Wraith gave me more trouble than just about any killer because I pretty much like all of his cosmetics, and it's not like I can come down and do partial ones like these because, I mean, first off, that's a cop-out, and secondly, it's against the rules that I set for myself. So I'm going to, yeah, it still feels a bit like a cop-out, but I'm going to go with his rare or uncommon cosmetics. And I'm going to say that while I actually don't hate the look of this one, if you are making yourself neon as a stealth killer, that's a little silly, but then again, he can turn invisible. So I don't know. I like the Wraith's cosmetics. I think he's got a lot of good ones. If I have to go for one of the more expensive ones, I'll go with this kind of bionicle looking one, or a kind of tiki mask. It's cool. It's a cool cosmetic. The weapon is so-so. I don't think the pants look great. I'm not sure why he's got what looks like either bolt. He's got something like almost like a spark plug down wrapped around. It's like I'm not sure about this one. It's not a bad cosmetic, but if I have to get nitpicky on a character who has a lot of good cosmetics, we'll go with that one. That's fine. Next, we have Hillbilly, and Hillbilly is going to get a bit of a rare distinction from me, and I'm going to give 3 of his cosmetics absolute bottom tier. One of those being Rabbit Season. Oh man, this one's not good, is it? The only thing I really like about it is his boots. I think his boots are cool. They look like they have maybe an owl skull, or I mean, it's rabbit season, so maybe that's what a rabbit skull looks like. I'm not entirely sure. You know, that's all right. I do hate seeing the dead bunnies on his belt. I am an animal lover through and through, and that hurts to see. The face, though, the face is beautiful. I almost get Quint from Jaws vibes from it, and that's kind of okay. So, you know, not great, but at least there are redeeming factors. Pyromania is another one that, you know, this one is not great because, so here's the thing, the 3 that I'm saying, they all just kind of blend together in my mind. I don't think any of them stand out. Now, admittedly, there are some dynamic elements about this one. You have the singed shorts, you have the flames and the embers coming off of his scalp, you have the dripping of the gasoline behind him. So you can tell they tried on this one, and I do appreciate that, and I want to shout out that it's a cool idea. I don't think it's that good. However, of the 3 that I dislike, the one I dislike the most is Woodland Ranger. Partially because this club just looks ridiculous. And then also, why a scout leader? You know, that's not a very cool concept for a killer. And overall, this one's just very forgettable. In fact, yeah, I would say, you know what? I highlighted things I liked about these other 2. So let's just let this one stand alone, actually. I dislike this one. I don't think it's very good. Next, we have the Nurse, and the Nurse is the best killer in the game, but she has some of the weaker cosmetics in the game. Now, last time out we did clarify, I think some of hers are cool. You know, I like the Lady Lunatic, I like Mother Mercy, I love the alliteration that's going on with these. However, she has a few that I'm just not crazy about, and ultimately it came down to a competition between the Ashen Lady, which to me is just an entirely forgetful outfit. It's kind of a hodgepodge of things we've seen before, it feels like. And then Vengeful Enchantress, which, while I admittedly kind of like, at first I thought she had almost like little slug eyes here, I don't think that's what that's supposed to be. The scorpion is a nice little touch, which I'd say I don't think that's what it's supposed to be. There's scorpions all over her, I should have clarified. However, the thing that really takes this one down for me is the more I look at it, the more I absolutely hate this weapon. This poisonous scythe. This is the worst scythe on planet Earth. She smacks you with the dull end of the weapon. What are we doing here? This is terrible. Now, I will say, I'm nitpicking a little bit, but yeah, wow, that weapon is rough. That one brings it down by itself. Next, we have the Huntress, who, if you watched last video, you'll know I'm a big fan of a lot of her cosmetics. I think that the Huntress has a lot of really good ones. Now, I will say I'm not going to choose this one, but I actually think that Huntress probably has the weakest of the Crypt TV skins. You know, it's fine. It's not nearly as good as Look-See Doctor, which a lot of people like, by the way. I got a lot of comments about, oh, you should have chosen Look-See Doctor. And you know, yeah, you're right. That's a really great cosmetic. I like it a lot. I've used it on Doctor myself. This, I think, is the weakest one, though it's not bad by any means. If I had to go for Huntress's worst cosmetic, give me this, what is it, Bird of Prey Sugata. This is not my favorite. I like owls. Owls are cool, and I think that's supposed to be an owl. Yeah. Eagle owl. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing. You know, honestly, for me, I don't mind the concept of, like, you do a cosmetic set themed around a certain culture. In the case of this one, you know, they were obviously going Japanese with it, and that's cool, but something about seeing this this very Slavic character dressed up in this very ornate Japanese attire, I'm just not, it doesn't look great to me. I don't know, it's not my favorite. Now, Michael Myers, as we know, he has his base cosmetic, and he has Pantsless Myers, but I'm not going to pick either of those as being my least favorite, so what I'll do is I'll pick my least favorite of his weapons. Now, I think that the pipe is hilarious. I think the screwdriver looks awesome. And you can't beat the good old-fashioned kitchen knife. So I'm going to go with this supposedly, you know, comedically large knife. But to me, I think they should have committed further. I want it to be double that length. I want Michael to be walking around with a sword here. Because you compare it to the original. And yeah, it's longer. It's longer, but it's not that much longer. Because his original knife is already kind of comedically large. In fact, look at that, an oversized blade. That's how they describe it. So, you know, I don't know. Whatever. It's all right. It's fine. You know, again, some of these we have to nitpick. Going to the Hag now. The Hag is surprisingly one who has a lot of really good cosmetics, and I like a lot of what she has going on. However, there is one cosmetic I'm not super crazy about, and that is the Wood Witch. It's just, you know, I mean, if you want to see Hag in a dress, you can already go down to Queen of the Mire, which is way better. If you want to give Hag a cool headpiece, I mean, she's got no shortage of that. Almost all of her headpieces are really cool. And then the hand itself is just so base kit. So, like, if I swap off, look at her original. Now, admittedly, this is with one of the cheaper skins that turns her, like, pitch black, and I think it looks really cool. But you compare it, there's not a lot of change there. She gets a little bit of bark around the wrist, I guess, but overall, pretty weak cosmetic, not my favorite. Next up, Doctor. Doctor has quite a few bangers. Doctor, it is really hard to find one that I do not like. So I'm going to go down here to this one, which was part of a tome reward for him. And, you know, I don't know. It's just not great, is it? I don't really like it. This one doesn't really do anything for me, though I do think the face is actually one of his scarier ones. So it speaks well of Doctor that even on his worst cosmetic, there's something I like. But, you know, I really don't like his base weapon. We can make all the innuendos and jokes about it we want. We know what it looks like, and I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird weapon. Next, we have Bubba. Last time out, I chose Pretty Woman as my favorite Bubba cosmetic, so by default, I have to go with Old Lady as my least favorite, which I kind of hate to do because Old Lady looks really good. Bubba has 2 cosmetics and he nailed them both. Freddy has 0 cosmetics, so, you know, Freddy mains take heart. His whatever you're wearing as Freddy is always his best cosmetic. It's also always his worst cosmetic. So, you know, make of that what you will. Last time out, I was very, very complimentary of the pig's cosmetics, and that doesn't really change. However, there's one I dislike more than the others, and that's this one. Now, I think the head is great, but when you have somebody who has 4 cosmetics and they're all pretty darn good, you have to start to get a little more creative. And while I think the head is great, I think the weapon is very similar to the weapon that comes on this pig, which had been out for, I think, like 2 years before we got this cosmetic. And then the overall thing she's wearing here, I know what they were going for. I'm aware. I've seen every Saw film multiple times. I know these are the robes that they wear in the films. I just don't think they look that good here. And there's just something about it that the whole thing just feels awkward. Like it's kind of incomplete. Like it didn't really come together like maybe they had hoped. I think the crown is awesome. The mask, you know, I've referenced this before for Legion. I get very like Hollywood Undead vibes from this, where, you know, they have like the half mask where you have like most of your face covered, but then the mouth is free so you can sing and do whatever at a concert, which is kind of cool. I think it looks nice. So maybe she's trying out for HU, even though I think they just ditched their masks. But anyway, my least favorite of their cosmetic. Her cosmetics. That was my least favorite Hollywood Undead cosmetic. Next up, Clown, the killer with the best cosmetics, and it's not even close. So how do you pick a worst one? Well, if you're me, and you are a loyal little pay pig and you own most of them, you might just think I'm just going to pick one of them that I don't own. However, I actually really like this cosmetic. The only reason I don't own the full thing is the weapon's a little weak. And then this one, it is purely mental on my part, because what's happened here is I owned this on Xbox when I played that for about a year, and I just don't want to buy it a second time. It's purely mental. It looks great though. As for this, I need to buy the knife at some point. The knife looks great. So what is the worst clown cosmetic? Well, I think it's this one, the cartoon special, which admittedly still has some value to it. It just doesn't super work. So one thing I dislike about cosmetics is when they're pay to lose. And in the case of the clown is already rather tall. So a cosmetic that puts them out even higher above loops is not going to be my favorite. Because if you're clown, you need every advantage you can get, and you don't really need to be trying to make yourself lose. Overall, the whole thing is a very goofy looking cosmetic. I think it was intended to be kind of funny, and it is kind of funny, but for the killer with the best cosmetics, something had to be the worst one, and I think it's that one. Next, Spirit. Spirit has a lot of good cosmetics. In fact, I would say I don't hate a single one of her cosmetics. So I had to get a little bit selective here. I had to kind of get picky because, you know, some of them like this is a really cool cosmetic. I like this a lot. Or what about the kimono? The kimono looks great. She has so many really, really good cosmetics. I mean, that's kind of similar, isn't it? Huh. But I think the one I'm ultimately going to go with is the accursed armor. And the main thing about it is I really don't like the ribbons in the hair. I don't think the ribbon looks good at all. It gives her a very, I almost get like, it almost feels like a really bad cosplay of Jessie from Team Rocket. Like, it just doesn't look very good. The armor itself is fine and the weapon's all right. But again, when you're going with a killer who legitimately doesn't have a bad outfit, you got to find something. So I guess the head really sinks this one. However, I do want to give a special shout out to her blighted cosmetic, which I didn't want to punish it because it does exactly what it sets out to do. But out of all the blighted cosmetics, this is the most grotesque, most difficult to look at. If I had to point out everything that is hard to look at with it, I don't even know where I would begin. I mean, the very texture of her skin is so bubbly and hard to look at. I think these random, almost tumor-like growths along her body, it's very rough. And then, I hate to say it, if you haven't noticed it, I hate to make you notice it, but look at her feet. Look at how broken her toes are. Just absolute pain. So hard to look at for a character who we are used to seeing cut into pieces and like just stuck with shards of glass. So, kind of rough there. Kind of rough for old Spirit, but I think that's exactly what they were going for, so I'm not going to punish them for that by saying it's the worst one. Now, Legion. It is very clear somebody at Behavior is a big fan of the Legion and designing outfits for the Legion, because the Legion has a ton of good outfits. The Legion has no shortage of really, really cool outfits. I like the Blighted Legion a lot. I think that it's a really cool way to tie in that, look, you've got like, I want to say that's Susie and then that's Joey, so that's kind of cool. I don't know, is there, yeah, oh, that's Susie. Okay, that's Susie. So you've got Julie right there. So you have all four of them represented, with the body obviously being Frank's. That's such a cool idea, and I didn't really highlight it last time out. So I'm going to, it feels like a cop-out, right? I'm not going to go for one of the basic ones, even though I gotta say, who's buying these? Who is out here buying these? But I'm going to go with this one, this kind of pirate-themed one. And look, I want a pirate killer more than anything, but this ain't it, Chief. This is not great. It's not terrible either. But again, when you're talking about killers who just don't miss, you gotta find one. Next with the Plague. Plague has a lot of kind of middle-of-the-road outfits. She has very few terrible outfits, but very few great ones. And while I debated choosing a few of them, I ultimately went with this priestess of the Lost. I just kind of feel like, first off, I think the headpiece is questionable at best. I think the weapon, even though I own it, so obviously I must really like it, but the weapon is kind of odd in and of itself. This whole thing, it's not terrible. It doesn't come together for me. It doesn't work, especially compared to a lot of her other ones that are so good. Though I want to give an honorable mention for the maggot-infested one, which, you know, again, it's exactly what they intended it to be, but the maggots on her skin and the mosquitoes going around this little fleshy weapon she has, just disgusting. Very disgusting. Next, we have Ghostface. I am going to do a bit of blaspheme here and choose the classic Ghostface. And look, my reason for this, I love the redesign they gave Ghostface, this almost combat Ghostface. Somebody in the comments called it Assassin's Creed Ghostface, and now I can't unsee it. I think that's hilarious. I think Devil Ghostface is pretty funny in its own right. Like, I think the weapon is cool. I think the horns are kind of cool, especially when you pair the mask with other cosmetics, which obviously I guess shouldn't count here. I think this one is kind of nice. I mean, this one was a little odd and it was in the running, but overall I like it. I like more about it than I dislike. And my issue with the OG one, I think it's just a little too loose. It's a little too oversized for this killer's body. And look, Scream is probably my favorite horror series of all time. I love Scream. So I love that there's one that actually ties in to the original film. But something about this just doesn't work. Firstly, there's a bit of you're gonna laugh, but go back and watch it. There's a bit of almost like a sparkle type texture to the robes in the original, and that's missing here. And again, it looks like maybe, I think his name's Jed. I don't think that's actually his real name. I think that's an alias he takes on, but it looks like Jed is maybe a size medium and he got like an XL here. So it's way too baggy on him. And the mask looks great though. They did a great job on the mask. Next, Demogorgon. Demogorgon, I gave this one the best last time, so obviously that's not in the running for the worst. This one earns its weight in gold for two reasons. Firstly, I actually think the metal shackles on the arm look really cool. Secondly, I think the collar is very nice. The torso leaves a lot to be desired. I don't love that. However, I hate to do it. We got to give it to the Cummy Gorgon. This is hard to look at, and I don't know what the inspiration was for this, but I know that I need to take it off my screen before Susan demonetizes me. Next up, we have Oni. Oni is kind of like Plague. Lots of middle-of-the-road cosmetics. A couple of pretty good ones, though. And you see, he's the reason I've turned this down for this one, because I know so many of the killers just make so many loud noises. So I was like, you know what? We're just gonna turn them down. Maybe I should have left a little sound on. I'm sorry if you feel like something's missing because of that. But anyway, you know, Oni has a lot of middle-of-the-road cosmetics. Some of his are great. I think the Fire Moon Warrior is fantastic. I think the Minotaur is great. I even like ones like this, where it's just regular Oni, but this creepy, stark white. Like, it's very upsetting. However, I think that this Cursed Fate is a good sign that Spirit looks a lot cooler cosplaying as the Oni than Oni does cosplaying as the Spirit. This is not my favorite cosmetic in the game. Next, we have Deathslinger, and this is the part where I am going to earn some dislikes on this video. Some people are going to not be a big fan of what I'm about to say, but I already I guess I kind of revealed how I feel when I said that I don't really like any of of Deathslinger's cosmetics outside of this fresh as hell anniversary mask he got, which is great and it's never coming off. But my least favorite was pretty easy to find. I do not like the Oxen Bounty. A lot of people seem to really like this skin, and you're certainly entitled to like it if you like it. But for me, the things I dislike, it's almost too much to name. I don't like his dorky little boots he's wearing. I don't think the weapon's different enough to really justify this price. I mean, you basically just wrap something around this one part of it and call it a day. I think that it looks to me like he's wearing a onesie, and it just, you know, that's okay for survivors, but for killers, that's a little too cutesy. I mean, this is the Deathslinger, and you basically put him in a onesie. Also, if you do try to mix and match this one, I just feel like it doesn't go with anything. I don't think it works as a cosmetic. It's bad. It's a bad cosmetic. You are free to disagree. Next, Pyramid Head. Another one with very few cosmetics. Last time out, we gave the cheesy skin, which I know it's not cheese, I'm aware, but we gave the cheesy skin top prize. And this time out, I'm going to spare you of any drama and give the blighted one the award here. And you might say, wait, that's crazy, you're giving the blighted one. And it basically comes down to the fact that I generally like all of these cosmetics, so I have to look for something that I'm going to dislike. Some of you may have already spotted it, but you'll notice that on this massive pyramid head of his, there is another little triangle, little jagged thing sticking out here. And let me tell you, Pyramid Head already towers above most loops in the game. If you run this skin, you will tower over every loop in the game. And, you know, I mean, I guess if you're just super confident about it, that's fine. You can go for it. But overall, this is pay to lose at its finest. You're more visible because you're so bright, and you're more visible around loops. So again, in absence of a truly bad skin, I have to find something I dislike. And as a bad player, you know, I'm not a fan of the thought of people being able to track my movements even more easily. Next, Blight. Blight actually has a lot of pretty good cosmetics. Like, I actually like ones like this. I know some people don't like them, but I think they perfectly tie into who the Blight is. I think that they give off very much like mad Scottish scientist vibes, and it's great. I already said that I love True Blight. It just, again, I get like Blood from Halo vibes from this one. Ferryman is fantastic. This is the only one, this organic monstrosity. This is the only one that I look at and I'm just really not sold on it. It's not terrible, but overall, I think that it's one of its cooler weapons. I think the weapon itself is very nice, but I think the outfit as a whole leaves a little something to be desired. But, you know, I guess if you're the Blight, take heart. A lot of really good cosmetics. Next, oh boy, the twins. The twins. Here's a game. Pick one. Pick the worst twins cosmetic. Is it this one? Sure. Is it this one? Sure. Is it this, whatever the hell this is? Yeah, sure. However, I'm going to go with this one for my personal choice because not only does it look terrible, but it's a set. So you have to wear it all together, even though you could easily mix and match any part of this with any other cosmetic and be perfectly fine. These are the types of sets I hate to see, and this one just looks dreadful. Trickster. Okay, Trickster is not my cup of tea, so I tried to put myself in the head of somebody who really likes this character. What are they looking for? And I think I have a generally good idea. I think they like things like this. I think they like the kind of K-pop type looks, right? This and this. Maybe even this. I don't know. I mean, again, this is not my cup of tea, so it's kind of hard for me to know for sure. So I ultimately narrowed it down to these two, this blue one and this pink one. And ultimately, I found that my bias for pink won out. So I'm going to choose this blue one. I think the pants look atrocious. I think the boots are terrible. I think the weapon is forgettable. And what's weird to me, pink eyes, pink hair, pink eyes, blue hair. So it's kind of weird that they didn't give him blue eyes here, but whatever. I mean, at least the coat is actually pretty fresh. That looks pretty good. Everything else about this one is atrocious, and I dislike it a lot. So, Nemi, I think last time out, we gave Nemesis Blight the award for the best one because, you know, he's got one cosmetic outside of his base one. However, I will not give base Nemesis the worst. So this is going to be probably the first and only case of one where what we gave the best cosmetic also gets the worst cosmetic, just almost by default, because, you know, base Nemi is too cool. base Nemi is too cool, whereas this one is very cool, but not as cool as the other Nemesis. So, you know, it's my list. I can make the rules. Last time out, we gave Chatterer the award for being the best one. So now we're going to give this a goofy as... What is going on here? This is silly. This is a silly cosmetic. And I do not consider Pinhead a silly character. Well, at least for 2 films. So yeah, not a big fan. Artist. We've reached that part where we're getting fewer and fewer cosmetics because of the amount of time that these characters have been out. So I try to be, you know, I try to take that into account, that they're not going to have as many bangers as characters who have had 3 years to get good cosmetics. In the case of the artist, I've kind of grown, or I guess these Amazon ones have kind of grown on me. You know, I don't think the head's very good, but I think the rest is nice. The weapon's cool, the torso's cool. It's really just the head that I don't like very much. This one doesn't count, and this one doesn't count because they're not full cosmetics. In fact, I don't think this one counts either. So we're left with these 2. I chose this as my favorite of her cosmetics, so congratulations. This one is my least favorite. Why? Because default. I do think the weapon is very cool, though. We gave Sadako's Well-Wisher, or whatever, Rotten Remains. I don't know why I was going with a pun for it. Why would she have a pun cosmetic? So we'll give base Sadako the award for worst, even though it's actually pretty damn good in and of itself. I like Sadako, and by the way, the original Ringo movie is also rather good. I liked it a lot, and, you know, I remember I watched it for free on YouTube. I think I've mentioned that before, so check and see if it's still out there. It's not a very long movie. You know, do a free movie night. And for Blight. Blight has not been out. Blight. Wow, this isn't Blight, this is Dredge. Dredge has not been out for very long, and already Dredge has 2 absolute bangers. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to go with a bit of a cop-out and pick one of these. So I think that, sorry, Sonic Nobama, I can't do that right now. I think that Pale Dredge is kind of upsetting in its own right, so whatever, that's out of the running. And I kind of wanted to go with this one, where it's just the Dredge with a little bit of schmutz on them. Just a little bit of schmutz. But at least I can tell what they did there. This one, I sincerely can't really tell the difference between this and the regular Dredge. I guess he's pinker? I don't know. So if I can't tell the difference, pretty bad. I hope nobody bought this one. So that's gonna do it for me. What do you think? How many did I get wrong? Let me hear about it in the comments below. Tell me that I am just a goofy goober, a silly salmon. That's not a term anybody uses. And let me know what I should have chosen as the worst cosmetics for your favorite killer, because I'm sure I got it wrong. I get a lot of things wrong. But this has been Das Food, and until next time, bye, friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my